Hey everyone, I'm Jeremiah, co-founder and CEO at OpenCover. We specialize in complex and embedded DeFi risk transfer, and today I specifically want to talk about vault-native risk transfer. So vault insurance, vault cover, why it matters, why it's hard, and I also want to share an exclusive preview of the new vault-native risk transfer primitive that we'll be announcing publicly tomorrow. So if we think about vault risk management from fundamental principles, there's three pillars: risk assessment, risk mitigation. We've talked about these today. These help us minimize the amount of risk on a vault, but they cannot eliminate tail risk. And our industry's current approach to tail risk is just accept it, which works well in 90x% of the cases, except when USR depegs, except when XUSD blows up. And that's where the third pillar comes in: risk transfer. Insurance and cover specifically exists to take these unknown tail risks and turn them into known fixed costs. No news. Insurance underpins most of TradFi, a lot of the off-chain world. You can't fly a plane without insurance. You can't build a skyscraper. You can't even organize a conference without it. But in DeFi, we're still taking our chances. Less than 1% of DeFi is covered today. Why does this matter? Well, fundamentally, zero risk does not exist off-chain. It's not going to exist on-chain. So we need to give institutions, fintechs, general users the same risk transfer tools they rely on off-chain, on-chain, if we want them to come in large numbers and be comfortable allocating capital at scale. This isn't a marketing thing. It's not a checkbox exercise. Over 7 billion was lost in DeFi to exploits and hacks. So I'm not talking about scams, malicious smart contracts. I'm talking about legit protocols that did not behave as intended. That's about 7-8% of DeFi's total TVL today. And what's worse is that composability increases chances of contagion when things go wrong. I'll give you an example. We did some payouts after the Stream XUSD incident in November, and about 80% of our claimants had no idea they were exposed to XUSD. Why? Because they had provided liquidity to a yield aggregator vault. The yield aggregator vault was farming an underlying yield vault, which itself had a lending protocol as part of its strategy, which had a market with XUSD as its collateral asset. And so the problem is when things blow up, users blame the interface, usually not the actual folks or thing responsible for the damage. And I think that's something that's quite important for some of us in this room, building vaults, distributing vaults. There's liability, or at least perceived liability, when you do those things. I saw this tweet a couple of weeks ago, which I think sums it up super well. It's the founder of a DeFi neobank discussing the risks of DeFi vaults offered by fintechs. And they're saying, from a legal standpoint, we are not liable. But in practice, that would be an untenable position. We would be forced to bear part of a loss, if not all of it. And so really the insight is that the best way to protect our users is also the best way to protect ourselves, which is to give them the option to transfer their tail risk if they want to. Right, so hopefully we are all convinced that vault-native risk transfer is important for vault adoption, for DeFi adoption, and that begs the question, if it's so important, why isn't it readily available? And the answer is that DeFi risk transfer, DeFi insurance, is hard by itself, right? It's new risks, it's a constantly evolving threat landscape, and vault-native risk transfer is even harder. Because what you mean is vault composable protection, right? Like you want protection that you can turn on and off on a vault position anytime programmatically. Could be part of a backend flow, could be like a toggle in a UI, perhaps something like this. But really the point is you want policies that are arbitrary in length. That means that you cannot ask the user to prepay for a protection. You need to stream cover fees as as the actual protection is delivered. And that is challenging for traditional insurance because traditional insurance is mostly built on yearly policies where you pay for premiums up front. And it's something that's quite tough to do. And in fact, if you're trying to transfer vault risk natively, you actually need to look at at least 10 challenges. We don't have time to go over them right now, but they fall into the category of underwriting, binding, so going from the user intent to protect, to kind of add protection or remove protection from a vault position to actual underwriting capital being locked or unlocked, and claims, right? You're potentially looking at hundreds of thousands or more in claims if you've got a covered vault that is, that is impacted and you need to do payouts. And the insight here is that doing vault native risk transfer at sort of POC scale, like small scale, is doable. But the minute you start thinking about 8, 9, 10 figures of protection per vault, things start getting exponentially harder. And that's the reason why it hasn't been done before, up until now. We spent the last 9 months working with core partners to solve these very challenges. And I'm happy to share that we've built, or we have now, the first vault native risk transfer primitive that's live in production today. We can do up to $50 million worth of cover per vault, and we're scaling that to $100 million plus, leveraging restaking capital later this year. I want to show you exactly how this primitive works. We're calling it a covered vaults. I'm going to show you on a Morpho vault on base, where the net covered APY, so what you get after the protection fee is taken, is 4.21. So it's your sort of raw Morpho, like Morpho yield unprotected minus a fixed cover fee of 1.32% on this specific vault. And this is the 1x unedited, uncut walkthrough. So first, you deposit to the underlying protocol. So we're not trying to change the primary point of deposit. We're just trying to augment existing vaults, interfaces, and infra to add this protection, right? So what you do, you would put, say, $1,000 into Morpho. You can use any interface, including the official Morpho one here, and you'll get some Morpho vault shares in exchange for your deposit as a proof of deposit. Once you have those vault shares, you come to the covered vault, and you effectively stake them to start protection. You'll see this is an async flow because it's an ERC 7540. And the reason is that we need to make sure that there's enough capacity to actually cover the protection request before we accept the vault shares being staked. So here we're using Nexus Mutual to, in real time, check there is enough capacity. And if there's not enough capacity, we immediately purchase it. And then once we have enough capacity, we actually accept the staking request. And you see now the user has $1,000 covered in the vault. Very important, what is actually covered. We're basing the policy on the protocol cover wording of Nexus Mutual, which has been battle tested over billions in risk protected and millions in payouts. So there's an annex plus a core set of terms, and together they define the policy for every vault. Of course, every vault is unique, so every annex document and every overall policy is unique. And to check whether you're actually covered, you basically look at the TVL of the covered vault, the amount that's been staked, and you compare it with what's backing it on Nexus Mutual. Here it's 1,500 USDC. There was only one depositor, so we are fully backed since it was only $1,000 of vault shares staked in this vault. When you want to rebalance your positions on Morpho, all you need to do is unstake. Again, it's ERC 7540, so you need to wait about 20 seconds on L2 to for that process to complete. But once it does, you just get your Morpho vault shares back. You can go back to Morpho afterwards and change the vault you're in, reallocate, and then potentially recover if you want to. So here you see we can withdraw the original amount minus a little bit, minus the little bit of premium that we collected when the user exited. And yeah, there you have it. We've gone in and out of the closest you can get to risk-free vault-based yield in about 2 minutes. If you want to try yourself, we've just made our reference UI available to the public, so you can go to opencover.com/vaults if you want to check it out, or you can come talk to me or send me an email on jeremiah@opencover.com. Thank you.